Those who come to the early morning Mass at St. Peter's know that we take every opportunity to remember the saints according to the Church's calendar. Most of the days of the year are given to the celebration of at least one saint or holy person. While a very few still have purchase on modern life, such as St. Patrick or St. Francis, most saints' days come and go without notice or fanfare outside the daily Mass. So when a saint's day falls on a Friday, we change the liturgical colours, we use the propers for the day, and I mention something of the person's life in the homily. Often during the homily, I catch myself saying something like, "Now, today is St. Someone's day." We know practically nothing about his or her life. In spite of this, I love the saints' days and I love the stories of their lives, both the historical and the legendary. We catch just a glimpse of these people down through the centuries. But I also find myself asking, what manner of person do you have to be to leave even a glimpse of your life in the pages of history? Even a name on the calendar of saints speaks of a life of incredible influence. And this Friday we celebrate the lives of two saints, St. Philip and St. James. We hear something of St. Philip from the pages of the Gospels. The Gospel for the day tells the story of Philip's pragmatic nature. Jesus has just promised the disciples a place in the Father's mansion and said rather optimistically that the disciples know the way there. Thomas, true to form, admits to not knowing the way. This gives rise to Jesus' memorable words, "I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me." Philip tries to help things along. "Show us the Father, and that will be enough for us." Jesus tells them that he is in the Father and the Father is in him. When I want to know more about the saints than we can read in Holy Scripture, I turn to a tried and true friend, my little Oxford Dictionary of the Saints. This is my copy, looking rather worse for wear. It was written by David Hugh Farmer in 1978. Farmer tells us something more of Philip and James. In part, he tells of Philip. Perhaps the most probable tradition says that he preached the gospel in Phrygia and died at Hierapolis, where he was also buried. His supposed relics were translated to Rome and placed in the Basilica of the 12 Apostles. But an ancient inscription there records that it was originally dedicated to St. Philip and James. So Philip has been linked with James for a very long time. James the Less, the son of Alphaeus, is mentioned in lists of disciples in the Gospels, but is an even more elusive character than Philip. As my guidebook to the saints says, it may be that James' mother was at the foot of Jesus' cross. It may have been the same James who was the first bishop of Jerusalem. Or perhaps he was the author of the epistle bearing that name. If none of these identifications is correct, Farmer writes, we know practically nothing about James the Less. We would like to know with forensic accuracy the details of those whom we celebrate. We seemed destined to dig into the legends until there is very little, if anything, left, except glimpses and echoes down through the ages. But how many people get to leave even glimpses and echoes? And who among us will be the stuff of legend? We give thanks for the Apostle Philip, who may have preached the gospel in Phrygia, and for James, who may be the author of the epistle bearing his name.